Hey guys, welcome to the first installment of my YouTube series following my prep for the New York Pro. Been off stage for a while, so I'm pretty excited to actually be able to document this all the way through and trying to give y'all a little bit uniqueness in what I'm going to show you. And I'm going to have my coach, Matt Jansen. He's going to be on the series giving his analysis of my physique, critiquing and also explaining the changes that he's making to help everyone learn along with what we're doing together in that collaboration. I'm also taking you through my training, diet, all the details of it, and I really want to show like the intensity level that it takes to maintain throughout prep and how I structure my training and how I implement the plan that Matt gives me. So I've talked to my IG about doing the open before. I got pretty sick for a while and my weight came down, but there's other reasons for me deciding to stay in 212 for this next year. And so I'm sitting around 242 right now, but we're gonna make the push and go for it. So on this episode, 17 weeks out, we'll have Matt give the breakdown for the week. I'm going to show you some hamstring and glute training, and then we're going to go do a sushi meal and show you why I pick what I pick when I go eat sushi. So I'm going to go ahead and let Matt take it away and give you the breakdown.
What's up, guys? I am very excited to be a part of John's prep with him. John had an idea to do a documentation of this prep in a way that would allow you guys to interact and kind of see what's going on throughout his competition season, and my role in this is to kind of relay the changes and information that I give to John, relay them to you guys in a way that's understandable and applicable to what we're doing during his contest prep. So some of you guys may or may not know, but John went through a period in December of basically being sick all month. Started out with some digestion issues, and we thought at first it might be some foods, but then basically towards the end of the month, it didn't matter what he was eating, he was having problems. So he went to the doctor and he had a virus, which is now taken care of. But that's kind of how December started out, and we had planned from early on last year. John and I set out a plan together to do the New York Pro. And John's initial plan was to do the New York Pro in the open class, but due to him getting sick, as well as just John's kind of been going back and forth. He's very competitive in nature, and he wants to be able to compete and be competitive. So he has decided to go back to the 212. Those of you may or may not know, but John actually did one open show in the 212 and got fifth. One pro show in the 212 and got fifth, his first pro show. So he's going to go back to the 212. And, I'm very excited about this because I was excited initially. I just kind of thought initially after John won USA's that he and I would have a good run together in the 212. He's got a very good look, and I think that there's starting to become somewhat of an age gap in the 212 division where, it needs new, fresh talent, and we have gotten some new, fresh talent in, and he's only going to add to and make that division better. So I'm excited about him entering the 212. So anyway, back to the reason why I kind of opened up about John getting sick. We plan to start prep, January, February, but with him having his sickness and basically not being able to not properly digest nutrients for a month, this first phase of his prep has actually kind of been a time to just really just get back into the gym, get stable again. I want to actually bring his set points back up. He did lose some strength, so I wanted him to start his prep instead of just kind of running him into the ground, because he basically, due to being sick, was already there. Reestablish him getting strong, reestablish performance in the gym, which is a big part of how John and I assess his progress. And then once he gets settled and stable, then we'll make changes to kind of start to make our way down to that 212 weight, which we need to make. And I believe that for New York Pro this year, as it was last year, his weigh-ins will be actually the morning of the show. He's got about a 3-hour gap between when we actually weigh in and when he's going to compete. So it's going to be a good challenge for us, because John definitely carries a lot of muscle, and I know that he turned pro right around 214. So, and I know that he's added muscle since that time. So it's going to be a good challenge to get down to that class, and we're excited about doing that. But like I said, I wanted to make sure that he was stable in an environment where his body was actually ready to push. So we've just kind of kept the diet the same that he was on the month of December and the end of November. And the only two changes, quote unquote changes, I've made these past 2 weeks is to actually get a little bit more food in. So I sent him to get sushi and froyo, which is something that I typically do with athletes during prep, simply because I like that meal because it's not a very high calorically dense meal in terms of fat. So it seems to digest a little bit better. It doesn't stick around on the scale for as long during the week. So we might get an initial influx through carbs and sodium, but then he's going to stabilize out and then go back into actually more of his true set point in terms of body fat, and where his scale weight's at. So that's basically the only changes that I've made up until this point. But I'm very excited about John this year. I believe in John fully. John's also he works tremendously hard in the gym, and that's something that I can get alongside and just be a fan of him as he preps for this show. And then also one other change that I made was due to the last month. I just wanted to add a little bit more volume back in on John's arm training, which is something that's typically a very strong body part for him. But again, he just kind of faded and got a little flat. So I just want, again, refreshen his body, get him nice and full, and then we'll start coming down towards that weight. So again, thank you guys for following along. This is 17 weeks out, and we'll be back next week.
All right, guys, Matt gave you the layout for our plan. 17 weeks out, so I woke up at 242.6 this morning, which is a little better. My lowest from when I was sick was 237. 5 weeks ago, I was 256, so I've dropped quite a bit of weight, but I'm actually feeling pretty good since my weight's come back up a little bit. Today, with the muscle factor, I'm going to be going through a hamstring glute workout. We'll go through it, and then after, get some sushi. On my ham and glute day, I have a workout A and a workout B. It rotates, usually the first 2 movements being compounds. Today I actually started with an isolation movement, lying leg curls. Just warm up, do a couple warm-up sets, and I move up to doing 2 work sets, and they're rest pause sets. So I'm working all out to failure for the first set, like 8 to 10 reps, resting 20 seconds, going to failure again, resting 20 seconds, then going to failure another time. My second set, I'll just back down to weight and just do a higher rep rest pause set. One thing I have been doing is like pointing my toes on the lift to take out the gastrocnemius and leave it on the hamstrings. So after the hamstrings were a little activated and get some blood in them, I move on to stiff leg deadlifts and just working up to a heavy set of 8 to 10 reps, doing them dead stop from floor, keeping them really strict. And I'll drop back in weight again on this one, on the final set, and just rep it out to failure. And usually trying to get to between like 12 to 15 reps on it. The thing about stiff leg deadlifts is you can really pull your hips through and bend your knees, and you can turn it into a deadlift. So I try to keep them really strict if I can. I have the mobility to take the bar down to the ground and pause it. Some people don't. So you just have to work within your biomechanics and mobility when you're using that lift. Next thing that I have been keeping in on ham and glute day is barbell hip thrusts. One area that I've been trying to improve is actually glutes, which you don't hear that a lot on a bodybuilder, but I think my quads dominate over my hamstrings and glutes, so I do have a focus on them. On this, just doing 3 sets, working up to a heavy set of 8 to 10, and I'm just sticking with that same weight for another 2 sets. And I'm doing just a slight pause, isometric hold at the top, just to make sure I'm really using my glutes to get the weight up. My final movement I went on to for hams and glutes was supersetting the reverse hyperextension machine with an inverse leg curl. So you get hip extension on the reverse hyperextension, and then you also still get knee flexion on the inverse leg curl. So you're utilizing both mechanics that the hamstring can go through. And the inverse leg curl, it's almost like a glute ham raise if you have one. So you really feel like peak tension tension at the very top of the movement when the knee's all the way flexed. Compared to like a lying leg curl, sometimes you feel like a lot of tension at the very bottom of the movement. So it's a little different than what we did earlier to start the session with. And reverse hyperextension, it's great for bringing tension to when the glute is in the fully shortened state versus when you're doing glute bridges. So to finish it off, I just do calves on this day, just some single leg, 3 sets of 15, just going to failure each time. And just trying to pause slightly on the bottom and then pause again slightly at the top, keeping them strict. My other ham and glute day, I'll do both legs at the same time. So finished up there, went on to do my sushi meal that Matt has me doing. Wasabi's a great place in San Antonio if you're ever down here. So usually when I start these meals, these sushi meals that Matt has me do, he doesn't give a lot of instruction, but there's certain things that I like to do with them, which the main thing is getting like a sashimi type appetizer just to make sure I'm getting adequate protein from the meal, because you can come in and get rolls that don't have a lot of fish on them. So like, a slice of sashimi is maybe ½ ounce. So with like the appetizer guide, maybe get 4 ounces of fish. So and then with the other rolls, I'll get a good amount of protein too. So the big thing with this meal is like adequate protein, but also trying to get enough carbohydrate as well from the rice. So for ordering my rolls, what I try to do is I try to limit usually the cream cheese and also any type of mayo on them, just to not have a lot of fat. So I don't want really anything calorie dense that's going to stick with me a lot. So, and the rolls I also pick are ones that usually have fish inside and outside, so I'm still getting a lot of protein from it. Avocado is fine. I know you probably think, John, you're really overthinking picking out these sushi rolls, but for the meal that I'm trying to do and the purpose of it is still trying to be high protein and high carbs. So keep staying away from the stuff that has a lot of fat content. I can get more rolls down, but also like Matt said earlier, it's not going to stick with me throughout the week either. So let's get to it. Well, that wraps up our 17 weeks out. Guys, if there's anything you want to see from me or you want to see from Matt, leave it in the comments below. We can answer your questions, but we also can add stuff along the way throughout our prep. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, and follow along, and we'll keep these coming out for you.